Hi everyone, it's Christy Burcham from BERNINA of America. Hope you'll join us live. I'm going to start here at 3:30, so I'll give it just a minute to see if people start to log on. And I'm going to tag a friend here so that they can see that we're starting to log on. Welcome. Welcome. I hope you're enjoying the virtual quilt show. We're really excited and having a good time being part of it. Great, welcome. Okay, well, like I said, my name's Christy Burcham. I'm with BERNINA of America, and I want to thank you for joining us at the virtual quilt show. We're really excited to be part of this new and exciting way to reach out to you and to learn more about what you're doing in the world of quilting and to share a little bit about what's going on in our world as well. So I'm going to take a few minutes to show you one of our best and most favorite quilting machines, the BERNINA 770 QE. This machine actually is on special right now as part of the virtual quilt show. There is actually a 20% off offer right now through the virtual quilt show, and there is financing available for this machine as well. You can purchase through the virtual quilt show and actually also support your local dealer. So when you buy with BERNINA, you're always buying local. When you check out, you actually can choose your dealer and you'll actually pick up your machine at your dealer, or they can facilitate getting the machine to you. So let's learn a little bit about the BERNINA 770 and what makes it so special, what makes it a quilting machine. The 770 is a BERNINA. So that's one of the things that makes it so special, is it's a BERNINA. And what does that mean? What is special about BERNINA? Well, one of the things you're going to find is that BERNINA has a really quality stitch, and there are a lot of things that contribute to that quality stitch. And as a quilter, as a piecer, that perfect stitch every time is really important to you. One thing that contributes to that quality stitch is the metal chassis. So inside this machine, there's a skeleton, and it's called the chassis, and it's all metal, and it's very sturdy and secure. And so that means there's less vibration in the machine, which helps to give you a more secure, more even stitch every time. Another thing that provides the perfect precision stitching every time is what's called the box feed system. So the feed dogs in a BERNINA machine, the feed dog actually uses a box system. So with most machines, you have an elliptical. The feet move kind of an elliptical point. So they're actually touching the presser foot only once for every stitch. With the box feed system, your feed dogs actually go down, up, and transport with the stitch, and then down and come back around. So you've got that box feed, helps give you that even stitch every single time. So that's another BERNINA feature. Another thing about this machine is it has a powerful DC motor, so it actually can penetrate a lot of layers of fabric at a time. You can go through 8, 12 layers of denim with this machine, no problem. And when you're a piecer, a lot of times you're layering not just so many layers of fabric, but all those layers of seams. And this machine can handle that really smoothly. It's going to give you a smooth stitch every time. So those are kind of the features that make it a BERNINA. That's what makes it special. Some things that are also special about this machine being in this series is the size of the machine. So as you can see, I've got a lot of space here in the workspace. There's actually 10 inches from the needle to the frame of the machine. So you've got lots of space here. And then you've also got 5 inches from the stitching area, from the stitch plate up to the top of the workspace. So you've really got lots of space to work here. Whether you're piecing a large project or whether you're free motion quilting, you've got lots of room. Now, speaking of big, another thing that's big on this machine is the bobbin. So this machine has the jumbo bobbin, and this bobbin will hold 70% more thread than an average bobbin. So you can sew longer, you can quilt longer, you can piece longer without having to change it. Another thing I love about the bobbin is its front loading. So as I'm working in my work area here, I can leave my fabric on my project, leave it under the presser foot, and change the bobbin without having to move that fabric because it's front loading. It's very easy to take the bobbin out and replace it. It's just a one snap, and it's easy to use. There is a bobbin sensor here in the sensor in the bobbin. There's also a sensor for the top thread. So you're not ever going to have that problem where you sew for quite a ways and then you don't have any bobbin thread. We've all done it, but with this machine that's not going to happen because you've got the bobbin sensor. Now, one of the other things that gives you a precision stitch in this machine is the hook system. And the hook is actually the part in the bobbin area that actually helps form the stitch. So you see this little point here. This is the hook of the machine. This little point is actually the part that forms the stitch. And this is a really precision item in a Bernina. So, oh, somebody's asking if the image flipped or they're really left-handed machines. It's flipped. I've got my front-facing camera on. I'm not sure if I know how to switch that around, but we'll see if I can figure that out in a second. It would be nice if we had a left-handed machine for those lefties out there. So back to the bobbin case here, the hook. You get a precision stitch every time because of that really finely milled hook. So let's put the table on. The table does come with the machine. You can see it gives you a lot of sewing area to work on. And slide that right into place. And then we have these LED lights underneath here. You can see how nice and bright it is to be able to work in this area. So we've got lots of space. One of the things I love about this machine is it's got this centrally located touch screen. So I can actually easily change my stitch and adjust my stitches right here at the front of the machine. To change a stitch, I simply select the stitch that I want. And there are actually 992 stitches built into this machine, but there are 50 stitches that are specific for quilting. So there's actually a little menu that's just your quilting stitches. And in those quilting stitches, you've got your blanket stitch, you've got your applique stitch, you've got a quilter's stitch that's going to be just the right length. And there's also one of my favorite stitches is a quilter securing stitch. So when you're piecing, when you want to secure your stitch, back stitching is going to give you too much thickness in your piecing. But with a quilter securing stitch, what it does is it takes 4 little stitches right in place, or very, very short stitches, not exactly in place because it doesn't make a knot. So 4 very, very short stitches, and then it continues sewing so you can secure it without adding any bulk to your seam. So that's one of the stitches that's built right into the machine, is that quilter's securing stitch. So when I change my stitch, I can alter that stitch with the multifunction knobs. These are the knobs right here, and there's a little zigzag and a straight stitch to remind you which one does which, but you can just turn it. This gives you total stitch control. So every stitch in the machine you can alter using the multifunction knobs. And one of the things I love is that when you go between stitches, so if I go from my straight stitch to my zigzag, for example, the machine actually remembers the changes that I made. So if I go to the zigzag and make it wider, go back to the straight stitch, when I return to that zigzag, it's still wide. It remembers that change. That's what we call a temporary altered stitch memory. There's also what's called a personal memory built into this machine. So if I've made this change, and let's say this is my favorite satin stitch to do my applique with, and I've got it exactly the settings that I want, I can go to the little heart, and then you can save that, put it in a folder, and now that stitch is saved, and you can go back to it anytime, and all your settings are remembered. So let's actually sew a little bit on the machine. We'll go back to a straight stitch, and I want to switch out the foot. This is the 1C foot. There are several feet that come with the machine, and then of course, just like anything, there are lots of accessories that are available. Bernina has one of the widest range of special accessories for the machine, and really Bernina is very well known for their presser feet. There are lots of different presser feet out there. But one of the feet that comes with the machine that makes it such a special Quilter's Edition machine is the 97D patchwork foot. So this patchwork foot is an all-metal foot. Hold it a little closer here. And there is a 1/4 inch from the needle to the edge of the foot. And then there's also a 1/4 inch from the needle to the inside toe on the left side of the foot. One thing you'll notice that's a little different about this foot than other patchwork feet is it's actually wider than 1/4 inch on the left-hand side, pardon me. And that is so that it makes more contact with the feed dog. This machine does up to 9 millimeter wide stitch. And so that means those feed dogs are a little bit wider also. So this foot is designed specifically to give you more contact, more contact with the feed dogs and give you a more precise stitch because it's holding that fabric really securely in place. But you still got your 1/4 inch marked on the inside toe and then a perfect 1/4 inch on the other side as well. And then there is a 1/4 inch marking at the toe, a 1/4 inch to the front of the needle and a 1/4 inch to the back of the needle. So you can do your perfect pivots every time. Now you may notice there is a little cutout in the back of this foot. See this little cutout? That is for the dual feed. So the Bernina 770 also has dual feed built in. And when I put the foot on, you can see how easy it is to change the foot. You just put it in with one hand and then you just pull this down and that dual feed engages. I've got a question here what Bernina this is. This is the Bernina 770 QE that we're working on here. So I've got my dual feed engaged. And that dual feed helps to give me really perfect precision piecing because the dual feed helps to feed the top fabric evenly with the bottom fabric. So it keeps both fabrics moving through the machine evenly at the same rate so that you don't have shifting between your fabrics. And when you're nesting your seams together and you're wanting to match up those perfect points, that dual feed can really help you keep everything smooth and secure. So I've got a couple pieces of fabric here and we're going to put that under the machine. Now I can raise and lower my presser foot several different ways. One is with the presser foot lift icon right on the front of the machine. I just push it, it goes down. You'll notice that it comes back up just a little bit. This is called the hover function. So that allows you to make that fine-tune adjustment before you actually start stitching. And then when I take the first stitch, the presser foot will go the rest of the way down. I can lift the presser foot with that same button. So I can go up and down with the presser foot button. I also can just start stitching and the presser foot will go down. Now I also have the option to raise and lower the presser foot with the freehand system. And if you haven't learned to use your freehand system, it really can help you get much faster with your sewing because I can raise and lower the presser foot with my freehand system without ever taking my hands off the work. One thing with the freehand system is it actually gives you a little bit more clearance. So you may not have noticed, for those of you who do have a Bernina, that when you raise and lower the presser foot with the freehand system, you actually can go a little higher than if you just use the button to raise it. So your freehand system gives you a little extra clearance, and then also it drops the feed dogs. So you can then be able to get a nice thick quilt sandwich right under the foot because you've got that little bit of extra clearance there. So let's finish stitching our little seam here. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a chain piecer, so I like to keep right on sewing, and I've got my machine set so that the needle stops down every time. And because this machine is such a precision machine, it really does a very good job of chain piecing. So you won't have any nesting or anything like that going on when you do your chain piecing. And again, to make that chain piecing even faster, I can use my freehand system and then just slide that fabric right up to the needle and keep right on sewing. Then when you do get to the end of your chain, there is an automatic thread cutter and it takes a quick cut, and then we've got our chain all ready to go. So really simple and easy to use. All of your icons are right at eye level, and you've got that precision stitch every time. Now, one thing I want to also share with you, another accessory that comes with the machine, is a straight stitch plate. Right now I have a 9mm plate on because this machine will do a 9mm wide stitch. So I'm going to take this stitch plate off and show it to you. And you can see this is that hole right here in the middle is what we're talking about. That's the 9mm wide stitch plate, so you can do those wide stitches. Well, this machine does come with a straight stitch plate, and a straight stitch plate, instead of having this wider opening here, has just a single hole that's just big enough for the needle, so you can only do straight stitching with that plate. That actually can give you a more precise stitch when you've got that single hole there, because there's less give, so the fabric can't push into that opening at all, because there's just a single hole. So that is a standard accessory with this machine. It does come with it. Now you may have noticed how easy it was for me to change that stitch plate. It's just a one press to take it out, and then it just snaps right back in place. It makes it really easy to use. Now, speaking of accessories that come with the machine, my favorite accessory that comes with this machine is the Bernina stitch regulator. So we sometimes call it the BSR. But the stitch regulator is designed for free motion stitching. So this is going to allow you to do your free motion stitching without having to worry about the stitch length of your stitches. So normally when you're free motion quilting, as you're doing your stitching, you're moving the fabric, and the length of the stitch is actually determined by how fast or slow you move the fabric, because you've dropped the feed dogs. So the feed dogs aren't doing any work to create the stitches, you're doing the work to create the stitches. Well, what this little guy does is when you attach this to the machine, there's actually a sensor in here that can read how fast and slow you're moving the fabric. And based on that, it will actually take a stitch at the right time so that you have an even length of stitch every time. So rather than having to think about my pace, I can go slower or faster, and the machine will make the stitch the right length every time. So it's pretty easy to use. You just attach it like a regular foot. And then it does have a little plug that plugs right into the back of the machine. And when I plug it in, the machine automatically recognizes that I've attached the Bernina stitch regulator. And because I've attached the BSR, which is designed for free motion, it actually will remind me to lower my feed dog. So I'll reach over here and lower the feed dog, and now I'm ready to do some free motion quilting. So I'll place my fabric under the needle, and I'm going to use that back kick function that takes that half stitch that we talked about, and take a half stitch and lift it up, and then I can pull the bobbin thread. Just like anytime you're doing free motion quilting, you want to be sure you pull the bobbin thread up before you start stitching. Now there's two ways to control this machine when you are doing the Bernina stitch regulator. You can either use the go button on the front and just push go and then start moving the fabric, or you can still use the foot control. So I'm going to use the foot control and take a few little stitches right in place to secure, and then all you have to do is move, and it doesn't matter how slow or fast I'm going, those stitches are going to be the same length. So we can do free motion quilting without fear. Now I can cut, and you can see my even stitches just by moving the fabric. So those are the features of the Bernina 770 that really make it special and make it a unique machine special for quilters. So I've got a few minutes left here before we log off. If you got any questions, please be sure to enter those right there. And I also want to invite you to visit our booth. So if you go to virtualquiltshow.com and then you go visit the vendor mall, from there you'll see a list of booths, and there are actually two booths for the Bernina. There is a home machine booth, a domestic machine booth, and a Q series or long arm booth. So whichever one you're interested in, you can go there. You can view our products, see what we have on special, and then there's actually a live room where you can click there and talk face-to-face in a Zoom environment with one of our Bernina educators and get your questions answered about a machine that you might be interested in. So we hope that you'll join us there in the Bernina booth, and I really have enjoyed visiting with you today and hope that you'll take a look. Laura asked, how much does the machine cost? I am so sorry, I forgot to check the pricing. I should have done that before we started. But if you go to virtualquiltshow.com, go to the vendor mall and then go to the Bernina booth. All the machines pricing is listed there, and the MSRP is there, and then the 20% off price is listed there. So you can see all the range of machines that we have on sale. So I hope you'll join us at the vendor mall. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you soon.